So, guys, let's talk drums. Let's talk drums. Good morning. Good morning. It's the TD17 kit. Yeah, rolling. What y'all been working on your in your drumming lately? What questions y'all got for me on drums, man? What you got? I don't have my iPad hooked up right now. I think I'm mostly just going to go to drum lessons content, to be honest. I mean, I could play some music too, but right now I don't have any iPad hooked up. Oh, this is free drum lessons, guys. Hit me up with what you've been playing around with. Yeah, Copperhead Road. I had to play that in a country cover band at one time. Yeah. How to practice to be better with chops? Thanks for the question. I say this all the time. There's two main things you got to practice to get better at chops, which is rudiments. Let me put some more muffling on that. Rudimental ideas, right? Good old rudiment chart, right? And then linear. So hand, foot, flam bass, stuff like that, man. And the reason why is because rudiments, the main purpose behind rudiments is it teaches you how to control your motions and articulate in different ways. Like, the thing that's interesting about drumming is it's not just about hitting your stick on a surface. You know, maybe at first it is, right? But even from the very beginning, learning about single strokes, learning about double strokes, right? Paradiddles, all of these things, they help you create control over what you're doing. You gain more and more control over what you're trying to do. And muscle memory. But the main thing the rudiments do for you, there's so many different things, but is sort of the control of accents and stick heights, right? Is there a difference between fills and chops? The thing is, a chop is anytime you have a small sort of repeated idea that, that's typically what a chop is. Like, just ask a guitarist, right? That's the whole tapping thing, right? That's equivalent to this. To a degree, you know? And so a chop is typically a small lick. Like if I said, You know, like you'll see in the chat sometimes, like, hey, try right, left, left, kick, right, left, or something, you know? And so as a drummer, it's important to practice little patterns, you know, whatever they are. Like over the years, that's the main reason why you gain chops is because you practice all these little patterns, and then you put them together, right? But what a fill is, you can put chops into a fill, but the difference is a fill is an actual musical idea, right? So it can be put into a musical situation, and it's used for a musical situation. Chops aren't always used for a musical situation, right? Chops are just chops, man. What do I mean by that? Well, you know, a fill. What I like to tell students is, most of the time, a fill has three purposes. Okay. And this is all very logical. It can be an intro fill, so you're introducing a band or a song. Right? Something like that. Usually intro fills are short and to the point, and they punch, you know? Like, that would have been way too long for an intro fill, probably. But even something as simple as... That's why you hear drummers doing that kind of stuff. It's just getting your ear acquainted and interested. You know, it's the opener. It's the hook line. Like people will talk about hooking people in content, you know. Now that's an intro fill, all right? The whole purpose of an intro fill is to hook you and to get you interested, get you ready for what's about to happen, right? Then you have transition fills. Transition fills is I'm coming from a verse, and then I go into a chorus. 1, 2. Right? So, you know, that kind of stuff, right? And typically you do a crash and you go into another cymbal or something, right? Typically a transition fill is going to transition to you into something that's got some more energy, right? Or you're trying to build up energy, right? And then there's what I like to call crash out fills, which means you're playing a fill to crash and be out. That can be into a bridge where the energy goes way down and the dynamic goes way down. That can also just be the end of the song. I mean, that's what drummers do at the end of a song. How many times have you heard a drummer do something like that, right? And so, you know, those are the three main ways you can think about fills. Is intro fills, transition fills, and outro fills, or crash out. And that doesn't have to always slow down, but it's a nice touch if you do slow down. So yeah, a fill is a musical idea, man. A chop is just a chop, you know? But you can put chops into fills. But the point is a chop doesn't become musical just because it's a chop. It's a chop, man. You gotta learn how to make it musical. That's why all these cats nowadays playing all these really fancy chops, but they're making it super groovy and super musical, is really fascinating to a degree. Because it's hard, right? It's hard to make a chop groove all the time. Or musical. It takes a lot of practice. Just like students will say, well, why do I want to learn a paradiddle? I'm never going to use that around the drums. To be honest, I don't just use straight paradiddles like this either, you know? But I will tell you this, the more comfortable you get with something like a paradiddle, the more you will find more uses for it. 100%. Should you get a kit and start playing, or do you need to try to get lessons first? I mean, you're talking to a drum teacher, so, you know. I'm just kidding. No, you know, get you a kit, start playing, start having fun with it. Yo, the Adventure Amazing Chronicles of... My man Wes has got his own comic book going on. Listen to all that. My God. Jesus. No, I met Wes because him and his family were like in some serious shit, dude. They were in that last tornado bout we just had in the U.S. And, man. Oh, yeah, man. No problem. It's all free. I mean, you can always tip if you want. I mean, that's what we do around here. That's what we do around here. Yeah, I can't imagine, Wes. I was watching it, and it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, this is entertaining, but I have a heart, Like, I hope these people are all right. Wow, that was a lot. That was crazy. Hey, man, thanks for the donut and the Tiny Dining. Yeah. Oh, I'll play lots of beats, man. But no, I'm really glad you guys are all right, man. And your home is all right. But no, going back to the person, should you get lessons or a kit first? I mean, at the end of the day, what I tell people all the time is just play, dude. I mean, I tell people that all the time. I hate the toxic music culture. There's so much toxic music culture out there. Oh my God, I hate it so much. Hurt your finger if you play the wrong note. I hate it. I hate it so much. You guys hear me mess up all the time. It is what it is, brother. Don't be worried about messing up. I promise. You're going to do it. I promise. I promise you're going to do it. I'll put money on it. In other words, what I tell people is you just got to play, man. You got to get to know the instrument. What I used to do is come home and I would practice sometimes, but other times I would just sit down and just do what I'm doing right now, man, I've always found the instrument to just be something that I can express myself. I mean, we think of artists that way, right? Why can't we think of music that way? Music has to be this really structured, practiced, routine thing. In reality, it's all about balance, okay? It's important as a drummer to practice rudiments. Have some time where you practice rudiments. It's as important as a drummer, and depending on where you are, for you to practice more linear concepts and moving around in different ways, because that's just how drummers play nowadays. But it's also important to just play songs and just play stuff, man. And don't be afraid, dude. Don't be afraid to just try stuff. Let's see. That wasn't really me trying something. Most of the time when you guys are hearing me play, I'm mostly playing stuff I know sounds good almost. But sometimes I take chances, and you'll be able to tell when I'm taking chances. And some days things just flow easier than others, So no, man, get you some lessons, play, see if you got a vibe for it. And go from there, man. But yeah, will you get a lot out of training your muscles and your ear with someone who knows what the heck they're doing? Of course you will, man. Anyone who takes lessons with me will get good fast if they apply themselves and they listen to the different things that I tell them that they should practice and the advice that I give. That's how I roll, baby. Now, I'll be the first to tell you, not everyone needs lessons, to be honest. Some people are just naturally talented. I've even had students in here before, and in my head I'm thinking, this kid doesn't really need me necessarily, because some people just got it. Like, some people just have a voice on music, and your advice is great, and my mentorship is good. But sometimes people's personalities are like, hey, I like what I'm doing, and I'm good at it, and it is what it is. What up, what up, what up? And it is what it is when that happens, There's students that kind of, that happens. But those are few and far between. I mean, that's the, here for you. But I don't mean to ramble. What other drum questions y'all got for me, man? I'm curious, Wes, why do you say you need lessons? Tell me more about that, man. I'm interested. Oh, how can you find more creative ways to play? I love that, man. The first answer to that question is you have to be in a mindset where you can find creative ways to play, right? Like, if you're only always doing things you already know, that doesn't necessarily promote creativity, right? Like how you're listening to me play right now, to some degree I'm being creative, right? But I'm also using things that I already know how to do to be creative with. Like I was telling a student yesterday, drumming is really all about learning concepts and then practicing variations of those concepts, right? Learning concepts and then practicing variations. What does that mean? I mean, you got to know how to play two-handed 16th grooves, but then after you learn how to play 216th grooves, then practice varying it a whole bunch. Whether that's with accents, whether it's with rolls. Once again, though, two-handed 16th grooves. Yeah, man, you got to go on a cruise to get better at drums, dude. You didn't know that was a secret? Carnival's got that in the bag, man. No, two-handed 16th note grooves. 16th notes is when you go 1 E into 2 E into 3 E into 4 E into 1 E into 2 E into 3 E into 4 E into 1 E into 2 E into 3 E into 4 E into 1. It's a style of groove. Wes, you said you want better fills, man. Oh, man. Well, don't we all, right? I mean, don't we all at the end of the day? I mean, from the stuff I've seen you play, dude, you're pretty sick. I guess I would say from what level you're at, what do you mean by that exactly? Because you got to go deeper than that, right? We both know as drummers there's a lot of difference between different kinds of fills. That's the thing that us in the drumming community need to do better about is like a fill is not just a fill. You know what I mean? Like you got more accented ideas, more fills that require more like dynamics and rudimental control. You got more stuff that's more linear and flam-based. You got the faster stuff. Oh, yeah, man, I've seen Drumeo. I remember when Drumeo first started. I remember Jared when he first started wearing, and he was wearing his Drumeo shirts, and he was early. I've been following Drumeo for a long time. So, yeah. For me, it's the setup. Yeah. It's a setup into something else, right? I mean, I tell my students all the time, drum fills used to be called setups before they were really kind of classified as always a fill. Because like in jazz and stuff, you were setting up some kind of hit, right? Hey, man, thanks for coming in and hanging out with me. Hey, thanks for the follow, brother. And part of it, guys, is just learning lots of different styles, right? I mean, if you only ever know how to play in 4, this kind of stuff, there's sort of an nth degree you can take that, right? Like, you can learn how to play what I like to call doubles with the bass a lot. You can learn how to play ghost notes and add more snares. But to a certain degree, you just kind of run out of notes, right? What does that mean? That means your job then is to learn different styles, man. You got to. Like, this is just one style of groove. Yeah, I know. I dig too, man. He's sick. He's a sick drummer. What's up, Brian? How you doing, buddy? Thanks, man. I'm going to keep getting on here and doing these lessons Monday through Friday. Honestly, I can offer you guys a lot more value that way anyways. Any asshole can get on here and just start playing songs, all right? You know what I mean? My real value is, I suppose, my experience and my teaching and my whatever, all right? That's what people say anyways. You know what I mean? So I'm going to try to get on here and do a lot more lesson type content for sure. That's my plan. I would say I could teach. I teach beginners all the time, man. But I can teach intermediate students. The problem is most intermediate students don't like follow through with all the intermediate stuff. The hardest thing about being intermediate is there's just so much material that it's important to practice that intermediate drummers don't want to practice, like accents. And ghost notes. And open hats. All that kind of stuff is kind of the intermediate land, besides diddles and learning how to roll. All of that is in the intermediate sort of bucket. And it's why beginner drummers stay sort of higher beginner and not really intermediate for a long time, because drummers will just play songs and never practice any of the real stuff. Any of the real deal stuff that gives you chops and technique, man. Thanks for the follow. With that being said, you got to also try to find a way to make those concepts drum set like, right? What's up, man? But no, to the people who are asking, you can DM me if you want. I got a link in my bio if you want to schedule a lesson with me for real. But yeah, keep asking me questions on here, and I'll give you as much advice as I possibly can, man. Obviously, when we're playing lessons together, it's a lot better because I can hear what you specifically can do, and it's like a doctor, man. I can diagnose people pretty quickly. I can be like, all right, well, this is exactly where you're at. These are your goals, and I can help you get there, but it's up to you to still do a lot of the work, you know what I mean? But yeah, that's what a teacher's supposed to do. Most people want to hear Tom Sawyer and Toxicity. Yeah. I had my share of doing all those. I mean, I'll still play music for you guys, whatever, all right? I don't have my iPad right now, though. Yeah, you got to have more stick control. That's right. And stick control means a lot of things. It means control over what type of stroke you're doing, because at the end of thank you, Nick. I appreciate it, man. At the end of the day, there's different types of strokes, man. I mean, this is just one type of stroke, like where you have a lot of rebound, right? That's why you learn what's called accent tap in the marching world. You got to learn how to control your stick heights and your, intensity. So an accent is really a higher, faster stroke, and then you stop the stick, and then a tap is a lower, slower stroke. So higher, faster, lower, slower. Just that one thing alone, practicing that, is really valuable to you as a drummer. And just thinking about your stick heights in general, man. I mean, stick heights and dynamic goes hand in hand in intensity. And practicing decrescendos and crescendos. That's a decrescendo. You hear how fast that died off, right? That's control over your sound. And then crescendo again. You guys got to realize, though, I'm not just a drum set guy. I mean, I went to college for percussion, so that's the benefit of knowing a lot about snare drum in general is I'm not just a drum set guy, you know what I mean? I mean, I can play concert and marching snare drum as well. And so those skills help you sound even better on drum set because it gives you a lot more control over what you're trying to do. Yeah, I mean, Chad Smith knows exactly what I'm talking about. Chad Smith uses a lot of dynamic control. That's the thing about funk. What makes funk work really well is you're accenting the downbeat almost all the time, right? but you're adding all this syncopation with bass drums and snare drums and stuff. I'm glad you did too. Thanks for coming in and hanging out, man. Or not, man. Sorry, Grinny. Like a lot of Chad Smith grooves do this kind of stuff. But see, that takes a lot of practice because that becomes its own type of independence, right? If I'm doing this, the name of the game is I can't let that texture die while I add other stuff. I remember when I was first working on this, my hand didn't want to cooperate with me. My hand didn't want to keep that texture while I was doing other stuff underneath it, right? And so, you know, that's why you got to practice. Like I was saying earlier, you got to go past just playing the eighth note hi-hat thing where you just rebound every single time, all right? You got to go past that. There's so much more different things out there than just playing stuff like this. So how do you do that? Well, you start adding more dynamics, you know, from more what we call in the drumming world more accent tap. All kinds of things, man. The 216th thing. Oh, thank you so much, Jason. I appreciate it, man. The shuffle thing. I really appreciate you cats who have always hung out with me, and you're still riding with me even though I'm kind of changing my content and what I'm doing, you know? But see, each one of these styles take years to get really good at, right? Like shuffle, for example. It takes a long time to keep that texture and get comfortable with that texture. Drumming is all about a bass drum and a snare drum talking to each other and how they're talking to each other. But it's also about what is my texture on my cymbal doing? Is my texture on my cymbal accenting the end? That's a certain texture. Is my texture accenting the downbeat? That's another texture. Do I have open hi-hats happening? That's a texture. Do I have, you know, groups of threes happening? All these different textures you can add are like different little sub-styles into how you play. And of course you can change cymbal too, obviously. Thanks for the cat, brother. Oh, that's sick. I like that. See, the more control you get over the instrument in different ways, it's like a painter getting control over what they like to call color theory, right? How many different ways can I mix these different colors together to create different textures? Well, you can do that with sound, but you have to be able to have a lot of control over the sound to be able to express with it different ways. This isn't going to be a song request stream, guys, but thanks for the song request, though. I haven't decided if I'm just going to go straight to lesson content or what, but that's what we're doing right now. So the problem with the song request thing is, you know, there's a whole lot of cats doing that nowadays, and I respect them, and I love it, but I like to differentiate myself, so... And I could teach my ass off, so why don't I do that, you know? I can use double bass. I was a lot better at it as a teenager. You know, playing more metal stuff and stuff. Not that I don't play metal stuff now, but I was just better at it as a teenager. I've gotten back into it recently. I can do basic double bass stuff, you know? This kind of stuff. Nice, man. Hey, for any of you cats who can read, I do have a drum book if you want to go check that out. I don't really have a favorite song to drum to, man. I mean, nothing will teach you sight reading, man. What sight reading is the ability to put a new piece of sheet music in front of you, and how well can you attain that knowledge, right? How well can you translate those lines and dots, which is all notation is, into sound, into your head, right? At the end of the day, that's all reading is good for, reading music. Notation serves no purpose other than translating communication. And that's how you want to think about it, right? So bass drum on the bottom, snare drum in the middle, and cymbals on top. Oh yeah, that's a fun beat, man. That whole song is a lot of fun to play. How accurate is Whiplash? I mean, I didn't go to a super competitive big old school, you know? I didn't go to one of those. So I can't actually accurately tell you how accurate it is, because I've never been in the whole. I mean, I went to college, and the most competitive environment I was in, besides when I did do drum competitions, and I did win 2 over the time when I did do drum competitions back in the day, like the drum off with Guitar Center. Y'all remember the Guitar Center drum off? I did that every year for like 10 years, and then finally won. My local area won, and it happened to be the last year that they did it. Of course, we didn't know that. Went to the Nationals and got beat. Beat bad. It was a fun experience, though. It was a lot of fun. What I was saying, though, is, you know, in a competitive musical environment like that, it's hard, man. You know, music should not necessarily ever be. I mean, if you're on the right mental side of it, it's great. Like thinking about where you are against other musicians and then challenging yourself to get better because of that, you know? But the whole, like, I'm not good enough because I'm not this person thing, you know? I mean, that can wear on you, man. That's another reason why I kind of stopped doing the song request lives as much. It got in my head a lot, man. Like, if I was playing songs and then I only saw like 4 or 3 people in there, it kind of plays with you a little bit mentally, you know? I mean, it's not even something that I meant for it to happen, you know? It just is what it was, man. I didn't like it. And this brings people a lot more value anyway, so. Anyone can go YouTube any asshole playing a song, all right? All right. Your pops was literate. You never learned so much sheet music. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, right, it's a hard conversation for drummers specifically. If you're a pianist, you read. Straight up. Like, you know, if you're a pianist, you read. It's just what you do, man. Yeah, I mean, for real. If you're a guitarist, you read tabs, right? And so the point I'm trying to make is every instrumentalist has their own type of notation which fits not only the culture of that instrument and that literature in which they learn the instrument, but, you know, notation is supposed to best represent what we do in reality, in practicality. If that notation is not representing what we do at the end of the day, then it's not doing its job, right? And so the problem with drum notation is we play a pattern over and over again a lot of the time. That's why I can't stand drum teachers that make their drum students read a full book of, like, say, AC/DC or something. You're just silly, buddy, all right? If you're making your students sit there and look at measures of this over and over again, that's drastic. That's weird. But if I can see in my head, on the flip side of that, if I can see in my head every single thing that I'm doing and I can think of it visually from a visual perspective in my head, that's a huge win for me, all right? And so, just like with any other language, in music, it's no different. If I can read and I can write, then when I'm playing, I'm going to be able to understand when I'm playing a lot better. And that happens over time. Going back to your question about sight reading is just something that happens as a product of practicing reading. But in other words, you don't actually like get good at sight reading. You just read, and then over time, you can put something new in front of you and learn it. Like, that's one reason why I'm a music teacher. You could give me any song you want to a certain degree, and I can put tabs in front of me or a chord chart or sheet music, and I can get information out of it, whether it's the key of the song, the chords, you name it, man. That's why I teach music. I can learn music pretty quickly, generally speaking, because it's a language. It's like me telling you to repeat back the sentence I'm saying right now. That's easy, right? Well, that's how it is as a musician if you're trained enough, you know. But you got to get there. You got to get to that point. And I've spent my whole life pretty much since I was 14 studying music. So, you know, it's not like I'm just some genius or anything. I mean, it's just being a musician, right? I mean, an architect can look at drawings and know what it says. A musician can look at sheet music. But it takes time, dude. It takes time, all right? What I'm trying to say, though, is do drummers actually necessarily need sheet music? No. And here's why. Because drumming is reactionary, right? Anything in drumming has to do with input that I'm listening to. I feel that. And output, I react to that, right? So if I'm hearing a bass line, I'm going to react to it. In other words, drummers are almost never thinking exactly about what they're playing. They're just reacting to what they're hearing. That's how drumming works, man. That's it. That's literally how drumming works. Drumming is reactionary. Now, at the same time, that means when drummers are playing, it's subconscious. But in reality, you have to get the conscious practice of, I'm learning this vocabulary in order to have that subconscious ability to speak, right? And reading allows you to gain a bigger vocabulary, just like with any other language, all right? So it's all about what you're trying to do, right? But if I can read, then I can gain a bigger vocabulary, which will allow me to eventually speak subconsciously. All right? That's the name of the game. So do drummers have to read? No. But do you want a large vocabulary? Then it's a good idea. Just like, here's a good example, all right? I'll see drummers that are young on here sometimes, and they'll be like, how do I play this pattern? And it'll be like something more complicated, right? Something like that. It'll be more complicated. And then the number one comment I will put on there is, this is why it's important to learn to read. The funny thing is, reading doesn't really help you that much in the very beginning because you're just learning basic beats, right? Anyone can remember boom, pa, boom, boom, pa. Why do I need to read that, right? Well, it's called musical memory. And the more you can read, it's going to allow you to learn things a lot faster and easier because if the pattern is really complicated, if I can read, then I have that as a roadmap in front of me, right? So if I have that roadmap in front of me, now it's not that I'm guessing to learn something. I'm using the paper to learn it. It's just resources and tools, man. I mean, music has always been about how many tools and skills can I gain, right? The best musicians know musicians have to develop lots and lots of different skills and use different tools. So what a metronome is not 100% necessary, but do you want to have a really good sense of internal timing? Then you better work with one, all right? It's all about balance. Do you want good stick control and good technique? Then you better work on your snare and your rudiments, my man. All right? Do you want to be able to think about how a song is put together in sections? Then a chart is your best friend because a chart helps visualize and show you that songs are really just a bunch of pieces put together. And then I can think about those pieces as a whole, right? Which is how musicians think about music, even if they've never read before. That's still how they think about music. That's just something that happens over time because your part correlates to what's happening in the music, right? If you guys are enjoying this teaching, man, I mean, this is what I do all the time. And we can do this one-on-one. So just DM me, man. Let's get it going, you know? Let's get it going so I can work with you specifically, personally, right? Not just sort of generalizations, if you will, right? Let's see what some of these comments are saying here. Music and martial arts. That's really interesting. I wanted to learn more karate growing up, or more karate. I wanted to learn karate growing up, but that was also the time of the '90s where Karate Kid was popular. So I think karate, dude. Just think how much karate studios were loving the Karate Kid thing back in the '90s, dude. Man, they made so much money off that. But I know it teaches you a lot of disciplines and things. Yo, Cody in the house. That's literally one of my students from back in the day. Do you guys remember how I was just talking about how some students are just naturally talented and they don't necessarily need lessons, although lessons will help anyone? Cody is one of those cats, man. I remember I hadn't even been teaching that long. I've been teaching maybe a couple of years. Cody came along. I met him. And, man, I used to remember just listening to him groove. Like, he was one of those cats where, and you probably still are, Cody. You need to keep playing, buddy. He was one of those cats where he could play the most basic groove, but you were just back there like, oh, yeah. I mean, he had so much groove in his playing. It was, yeah, I'm sure you still do, buddy. You're very talented. You're very talented. I was happy to get to work with you as long as I did. Good, man. I'm glad we got the same philosophies. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I just think of it as common sense kind of philosophies. You know, I've never, like I said, I don't like the drum teachers that make students read whole scores. Now, with that being said, if it's a song worthy of a score, fine, right? Like there's just specific literature that's good for notation, right? There just is. Like Sleep Token, not so much. Okay, I just said notation's purpose is to translate information. If you look at Sleep Token on notation, you're not going to get much information translated because that music was never meant to be notated. It was meant to be felt and heard and played. And that's a little bit of an opinion, but it's complicated, right? Now, take something like Kansas, right? Carry On My Wayward Son. The reason why I bring that up is because when I was in drum lessons, I actually did get a score in front of me that had Carry On the Wayward Son. You know what I'm saying? And I actually learned a lot from reading that score. That I wouldn't have learned if dude just tried to teach it to me, which that song is complicated enough. See, the music needs to be complicated enough with enough parts to where you need the notation. That's the thing. Simpler music doesn't need fancy notation. It's just a couple of grooves and you call it a day, brother, and some transitions, you know. But the tricky thing about that is to learn how to read the more intermediate literature. You still have to know you have to practice reading in the first place, you know? But at the same time, we all know you can be a great drummer and never know how to read anything. But it's a great tool, okay? That's the end of the story. It's a great tool. When I want to write something down, I can. I have the ability to, you know? So there you go. But I hope that all makes sense. Hey, guys, my first student is going to be here in no time. But I was happy to get on here and answer some questions and have some fun with you guys and talk drums a little bit. If you enjoyed this live, follow me, hang out. We're going to do it more. We're going to do this a lot more, all right? Yeah, I know what you mean, man. I mean, every instrument helps the instrumentalist develop certain traits and skills, or they also just naturally have those traits and skills. Drummers have to naturally be able to hear patterns really well and then naturally be able to memorize changes of those patterns and how those patterns flow into other patterns. Generally, actually be able to memorize changes of those patterns and how those patterns flow into other patterns. Generally, But yeah. Similarities between music and martial arts principles. To be honest, I was never in martial arts. I wanted to be. Never got that opportunity for whatever reason. Just never happened for me. So yeah, I couldn't really tell you. All I do know from the little bit I do know is I would say discipline, right? Really good musicians are really good because they have a lot of discipline. Not necessarily because I come in here and practice a regimen every day, but because the way I approach it is the more relaxed my mind is, the more relaxed my body is, the more I'm truly, genuinely expressing myself on the instrument. See, music has always been about how comfortable can I be and how genuine can I be and how vulnerable can I be. Just remember that, all right? If I'm playing genuinely, whether that's good or bad, meaning I'm not trying to be someone else, right? But I'm also hearing the music in my head to a degree, you know? But I also have the discipline to come in and, you know, I mean, it's a lot of things, man. It's balance, right? That's funny. Thanks, man. Yeah, Joey was crazy because he just had so much personality. I mean, he had chops out the butt, but he had personality. Like, just the intensity of you know, just like speeding up out of nowhere, you know, pushing the beat like crazy, and then just like playing crazy stuff. You know, all that kind of. I don't play licks like that with 2 feet, but I guess I'd have to play him as fast as he did. My favorite genre to play is the one that pays me. His fastest drum solo. I've only watched, growing up, I only watched the one where he was on the platform or whatever. But hey, guys, my student's about to be here, so I really got to get off here. Thanks for hanging out. That was a lot of fun. Have a good one.